Welcome. This is Business Today in London with me, Sally Bundock. So we start with the latest on the US-Iran war as the war of words over potential peace talks intensifies. In a series of posts on social media on Monday, President Trump laid out the US position, saying America's naval blockade of Iranian ports will not end until there is a deal. Backing this up in an interview, Trump added the US is highly unlikely to extend the ceasefire with Iran, which is due to run out on Wednesday if a deal cannot be reached. There are growing signs Iran will send a delegation to Pakistan to meet a US team that's led by Vice President J.D. Vance for a second round of talks to end the war. But this is all far from certain as and when the talks may actually take place. And the price of oil has stayed elevated during this last 24 hours. It reached on Monday a $95 per barrel with a spike of 5%. This after the US seized control of an Iranian cargo ship it says was attempting to evade the US blockade of the Strait of Hormuz to Iran. The international benchmark Brent crude then currently trading at just under $95 a barrel, just over $94, which of course is reflecting the concern about the choking off of energy coming through that Strait of Hormuz. In a further post on Monday, President Trump thanked the Iranian leadership for forcing hundreds of ships towards the United States to get their oil. Let's talk to John Sfakianakis, who's chief economist and head of research at the think tank, the Gulf Research Centre based in Riyadh. John, good to talk to you again. What is your expectation as far as these talks are concerned?
Great to be speaking with you, Sally, again. I think that despite all the bluff and bluster, I think they're going to speak. They're going to speak, and both sides know that this is time, and it's about time to agree. Even if there is domestic opposition within Iran, even if both of them are heightening the extremes and trying to be quite radical about their positions, I think there is going to be cooler heads prevailing and moving ahead. They have to find an agreement because both of them are going to be in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very tricky. There's a lot of diplomacy going on behind the scenes, led by Pakistan. But with President Trump saying we will not extend this ceasefire, that really increases the pressure, does it not?
It does, but we've seen that over and over again with President Trump on the 11th hour, or even at the 11th hour, there is a change of policy. So between the statements, the facts, the fake news, and all of that, we're going to see, in my opinion, a turnaround. There will be a meeting, whether it's tomorrow, the day after, sometime this week. There will be some kind of a postponement. There will be a twisting of the facts from both sides, but more so from President Trump, in order to appease and to push everybody towards a settlement. I do not believe that President Trump wants to fight and put boots on the ground. That is a low probability for me right now.
John, what do you make of China's intervention? I mean, it would argue it's not a direct intervention, but President Xi making his comments that the Strait of Hormuz must be opened. Of course, China is a very important customer for Iran.
Absolutely, Sally. I think that China is watching, observing, and being a bit more jubilant than usual, given that it has huge reserves in China, but also they can easily move into coal. But certainly now it's the time, as we're getting closer to the summit, where President Xi is going to be meeting President Trump in China. They're going to be talking about this. And China can flex and say, you need to help the Asian economies, the world economies, and they are major beneficiaries of all this.
Okay. Thank you so much for talking to us again, John. We'll speak to you soon, I'm sure. John Sfakianakis there from the Gulf Research Centre in Riyadh. Now let's